All right, guys, hopefully this works. Not sure what happened. I had a massive delay, and I was worried about being able to actually show you what I was doing and seeing where I was. So restarted the live. Today's Tutorial Tuesday. We're going to do Gumpaste flowers. I'm going to show you guys how to form them, and then we're going to do some dry brush coloring as well. So it's a two-part stage, and so I have some already dried flowers that we're going to color after we make these new ones, but they take a day or two to dry before you can actually color them, so just keep that in mind, and we'll go over that at the end as well. September. Super excited about our flavors of the month. We have 2 flavors of the month, so we're doing a cookie series this month and next month. So we'll be launching 4 new flavors this month and next month. This month we have our cookies and cream cake and our peanut butter cookie cake, and these are only available in the month that they are the special. This is just something fun we're doing to get to play with new flavors, share new things with you guys, and keep our kitchen fresh and new and see what flavors do well. It's a great way for us to test product. So we have played with these flavors for quite a bit and make sure that they're amazing and delicious. I know my family is very excited about them, as well as the family here at Classic Cakes. So September only, cookies and cream cake and peanut butter cookie cake. Let's see which one wins the rivalry here. And then, hey guys, thanks for joining. When you jump on, say hi so I know you're there. Tell me where you're from. We are gonna have an awesome live tonight. I'm super excited, got a lot to cover, so I'm gonna get right into it. Our September Tutorial Tuesdays, I have them all planned out. This week is our Gumpaste flower. Next week we have a Bob Ross with buttercream, and so this is gonna be kind of a play on the Bob Ross style oil painting landscapes, and we're gonna do that with buttercream and see how it turns out. So it's gonna be kind of a playful class. I did a lot of Bob Ross style painting just for fun. Not very good, but we'll see if I can do better with buttercream. And then the following week we're going to do techniques for icing cupcakes. We're going to do a 3D sculpted book out of cake to celebrate one of our favorite authors here at the shop. Annie Sullivan is launching her new book, so you'll see lots about that soon. And then the last week of September we're going to do buttercream fall flowers. So I'm super excited about that. The buttercream flowers class is always super fun, and this way we'll get to play with some fall colors and some fall flowers like mums, and do something different. So without further ado, let's jump in. I've got all kinds of tools. Today I'm really gonna play. We're going to do a flower that I've been wanting to try but I've never actually done before. So I will talk you through techniques. I'm gonna learn a little bit along with you. The techniques are the same, so we will go through all of that. I do have these very cool molds for centers of flowers. This one I'm actually not sure what it looks like, so I wanted to play with that. But these make really nice like button centers for flowers, or like daisy or sunflower centers. You can get molds, you don't have to have molds. There's all kinds of fun things that you can play with. Petal cutters, again, you don't need these things, but it does help make your flowers look a little bit more lifelike if you have these versus if you cut them by hand. So you'll notice that they're not all the same. They have different shapes and different little cuts in them. That way every petal is not exactly the same. And then we have this mold press. So we actually make a petal and then we can press it to give it this veined, textured, real flower look. It also thins it out a little bit more, which is nice as well. We're gonna do some ruffling, so I use this ball, or you can use these guys, the round end of these. I will show you that. I've got a little pointy doohickey, lots of technical terms here today. This is nice for if my petal is like in the wrong direction and I want to kind of pull it or move it. Same with these guys. And then we have a X-Acto knife. Anything Gumpaste related, you're pretty much going to want to have a X-Acto knife. And then I have a bunch of different molds here. So when I make my flower, I can set it in a mold to dry so it keeps that like round, beautiful shape. You can also use a towel, a bowl, anything like that. Anything that's not going to stick to. And then we have a shaker, and we're going to use powdered sugar instead of flour. If you're making bread, you're using flour. If you're using fondant or gum paste, you're going to use powdered sugar. So I have my gum paste rolled out pretty thin. You can find gum paste recipes online. There's lots of them. Most of them are good. When you are finished making it, you want to make sure that it's soft and a little bit stretchy. Not as stretchy as fondant, but a little bit stretchy. And you want to make sure that it's not wet. So when I cut through it with my X-Acto knife, for example, when I cut through it and I just slice it, it comes apart. If it's too wet, when you cut through it like that, you're going to have little stringy, like spiderwebby guys that want to stick together. That means you should ball it back up, put some more powdered sugar in it, and make sure that it is a little bit drier. Otherwise, working with it's going to be very difficult. So I rolled this out to try and prep for my live, and I did it too early, so now it's all a big glob. So let me ball it back up, and we're going to roll it out by hand, and I'll show you guys how to do that. And we're going to roll it out in little bits. When you're working with gum paste, you always want to make sure that you are covering it, because it does dry out very quickly. Now, it doesn't dry like if I make a flower. It's not going to be perfectly dry in an hour, but if you leave a scrap of it out, it's going to dry out to the point where you don't want to use it. Alright, so who has made gum paste flowers before? I love asking you guys questions, as you know. So have you made gum paste or fondant molded flowers before? We're going to take a little ball of this. And normally when I roll out things, I like to stand up so that I can use the weight from my body to push it, so I'm not having to use my strength. It also helps it be a little bit more even. I'm going to try and do it this way for you guys. So you can get a large rolling pin, or you can use these little guys. It just depends how much you want to roll out at one time. And what you want to do is roll it out as evenly as you can. And you want to have a little bit of powdered sugar so that it's not sticking, but it doesn't require much. So when you guys do this at home, I recommend standing up so that you can do this a little bit more evenly. Let's just cut this guy off. Alright, beautiful. And we're just going to make a little pile of powdered sugar. And I can just brush it lightly on here. I don't want it to be caked on, because I don't want it to be dry. When I go to mold my flower and get my texture, my petals, that will mess me up. I should have grabbed a larger rolling pin, but this will do. Alright, cool. So I want it pretty thin. It's really your comfort level. The thinner you go, the more realistic your petals will be, but also the more fragile it's going to be, the more difficult it is to handle, the more brittle it's going to be once it dries. So I have it almost thin enough. I can see through it a little bit. I don't know how well you guys can see through it, but I can see through it a little bit. That's great for me. If I make it too much thinner to where it's really transparent, it's going to be really difficult to work with. And you can do stuff that way. I like it to be just like this. And I'm just going to make sure my edges are nice and even. I don't like when I have like a thick spot and a thin spot. It doesn't ruffle as nicely. Alright, so the way I'm going to make this flower is I'm going to start with the big petals, and then I'm going to work up. So I'm going to start with the outside, and I'm going to work in to close it up. So I'm going to use this little mold guy to rest it in. I'm going to start with my large petals, and I'm just going to do a few of these large ones, and then I'm going to stair step it down in size. So I've got my big ones, and I want to cut out as many things as I can from this so that I'm not wasting energy rolling stuff out, and so that I'm not wasting product. Every time you roll this out, it gets a little bit drier. Alright, so we're going to wrap this up and cover this guy up. Alright, so this is my first round of petals. And we always cover the gum paste. So I'm going to use this nice foam mat. There's all different kinds of textures. Honestly, I've used most of them, and I feel like most of them work. I don't have problems with them being too firm or too soft. It's just a matter of personal preference. So if you get one, that's what you are used to using, and you can just use that one. Let's see. Hi from Trinidad, love it. Ellen's made some by mold, love it. We should definitely play with some cutters, Ellen, it's so fun. It is not an ashtray. I'm assuming you're talking about this. This is actually a foam mold. It's made specifically for flowers. It has this hole in the middle, so if you have a wire on your flower, you can rest it that way as well. But it does look a little bit like a tiny ashtray. Same shape, different use. Okay, so before these dry out, we are going to take these guys here, and I am going to take my heavy ball. So you can use this guy or you can use this guy. I like this because it has weight on it, and so it kind of does the work for me, and all I'm doing is gently pressing it and rolling it along the edge of the petal. And I want to be careful not to fold it, but I really want to stretch and ruffle that petal so it becomes very soft and also gets that waviness to it. So we're going to do that on the edges of these guys, and then we're going to press them, and you'll see them come to life. We want those petal edges, those outside edges, to be really light, really thin, so that they look more realistic. And we're just going to go around the whole edge. I'm not worried about this bottom part because that's going to be hidden. We want to get this outside edge. I'll just separate them by size so we don't mix them up. So when I make these flowers, we want to start on the, so you can do these different ways. For today, I am doing them from the outside, and we're going to build it in. Alright, so our petal mold here, these are too big, so I'm going to be really careful not to hit this edge hard, so I don't have this like weird hard seam. And you can see how it brings that to life with this deep, heavy texture. I think that's beautiful. So some of them I'm going to push really hard, some of them I'm going to push softly, and we'll have this nice texture in our petals so they look alive and real. And the color is going to sit differently on these textured petals. I love that. Alright, let's do these guys, and then we'll start forming our flower, and then we'll do the next row of petals. So it really is a repetitive motion. Forming your petals, once you put them all together, is a little bit more time consuming, or it can be, I guess. It depends how particular you are. But it really, there's no wrong. It is a, oh, I ripped this guy. So we can either kind of push him back together and see if he lives, or we can start over, or we can make him a partial petal, whatever we like. So I am going to start by just folding this over to make a base, and we're going to rest this guy in here. When you fold them like this, it does give it a little bit more structure, and so I like doing that, especially for my bigger petals. And I have a wet rag here, and I'm just going to wet my finger and use that as my glue. So just a little bit of water. You can use vodka and a brush, you can use water. It does not take much. So I really just have a wet rag that I'm just running my fingers on and using them as glue. Alright, so I have my first few rows of petals here. And I'm going to put my next row of petals in the exact same way. Alright, so right now it doesn't look like much. We're going to build those petals in, and then we're going to, as it starts to dry, we'll start kind of playing with these guys and forming them so that they hold the shape that we want them to. But I want this flower to be really big and kind of droop out. So I made these a little bit bigger so that they could hang over a little bit. Sometimes you don't want them to do that, and you can put a piece of paper or a piece of foam underneath to perk up these petals. And we'll do a little bit of that, but I really want these outside ones to stick out a little bit. Alright, so now we're going to start that process all over. Got a little ball here. And we will just roll it out. So, hey Jennifer. Hey Terry. I feel like we're making pottery. I love it. So, actually, you can use gum paste and treat it like you're making a clay project. Or I have blue on me. So this is also what happens. If I have blue food coloring, then it's going to go all over this. And I don't even know where the blue food coloring is. Let's start over. Okay, so dry hands. Otherwise you'll turn into glue. Sometimes I'll pick up like glitter or food coloring or something, you know. It's kind of like a craft shop over here. Hi Micaiah, thank you for watching. So excited to see you on here. Grab your Play-Doh and make some flowers with me. So, the clay, if you use like air dry clay or really any kind of clay, a lot of the techniques are the same. So you can make a flower with clay just like you would make it with gum paste. A lot of the techniques that we use in cake decorating can apply to other forms of art, like Bob Ross painting, palette knife painting. Alright, so we're going to roll this guy out nice and thin too. And you can see I try to go very steady and have long strokes with the rolling pin so that they're even. I let it roll down my hand. See how thin we got there. Alright, let's see. Oh, nice and thin. Beautiful. Alright, so we are going to cut out our next round of petals. And we are on the next size down, which would be this guy here. So we have some fun shaped petals. We're going to do some of these guys. And I'm going to do maybe 3 of these, and then a few of the other ones. Very thin, very delicate petals. Hi Becky. Hey Micaiah. So I'm curious, what is everyone up to right now? I feel like the world is trying so hard to go back to normal, and you know, school is trying to happen, and it's just such a weird time right now. My kiddo had his first day of preschool ever today. We're in a very tiny co-op. There's like 6 kids. So we felt like we had our little community and we're able to be careful and smart about it. But it's very cool to get him out around people. This poor kid has been cooped up and he is so social. He's going to be 4 in January. And my little guy, and he's just the sweetest. Of course I think that though. But he's just the most social. Like, we go to the grocery store and he says hi to every single person he sees. He looks out the window and says hi to people when they walk by. It was so cute in the preschool drop-off. We were in the like little drop-off car lane, and he rolled down his window to say hi to everybody out the window. My kid's just the coolest kid. I'm sure everyone feels that way. Now I feel like we are making pizza. Terry, we could totally make pizza. I love making pizza. I like all kinds of cooking. Terry, how do you always connect everything to food? That worked out well. We'll just leave that there. feel like he jumped on me like a little froggy. All right, so we have these guys here. Now we're gonna roll out the, press the petals. And again, we just wanna be gentle because it doesn't take much pressure. And I want some of these to be hard, but if I push them too hard, it breaks them because those deeper ridges will cut right through it. So we wanna be gentle. And every mold is different, but you kind of get used to yours. And if you mess up a bunch of petals, it's totally fine. Just smush it back up together and roll it back out. I've messed up so many flowers, and I will continue to mess up flowers. But that's how we learn. Practice makes progress. Let's see. Getting ready to start virtual school. Well, good luck. I hope your school has learned from some of these other schools that have started. I'm sure that you were stressed out enough. I don't know how parents are doing it with work and life and everything, but I think it's beautiful that they're trying something. They're doing something to get kids together and keep them learning. All right, so we're just gonna keep pressing these next petals in. So the fold I like to do is kind of like a little S shape, like a little Z. And that gives the petal a little bit more dimension, and they don't look as flat when you put them in. Let's see. Samantha, your daughter will be 4 in February. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. This age is so crazy. What does she like to do? What is she up to? What is she into? My kid's totally obsessed with music and reading and his dogs. Press the petal 1 time or twice. Excellent question. I kind of do, so if I'm doing it really hard, I'm going to use the heel of my hand and I'm going to push once. With these guys, I'm being very gentle, so I just kind of touch it with my fingers throughout the whole thing. And we're going to do another row of petals, and then we're going to fluff it. So here's what we have so far, which kind of might look like a little bit of a mess. In a good way, but still a little bit of a mess. We have several rows of petals, different sizes, and we have them tapering in. So that's what we really want. We want it to be bigger and then smaller so that it kind of looks like it's coming up around. So we're going to use our smaller 2 sizes here. The last 2 tiny guys. Ooh, what am I doing? Add sugar. All right, cool. Yeah, let's see. Thank you. I need all the luck I can get. I know, oh my gosh, I just feel for everybody. It doesn't matter what age your kid is. Like, this is just such a hard time. They just want to play or be with their friends or their clubs. And like, how much do you really want to tell them or scare them? I don't know. It's such a challenging time. I just hope everybody is focusing on how they can be kind to one another and take care of each other, because everyone is in pain right now. And we're seeing a lot of that with, you know, birthday parties and graduations and communions and weddings getting canceled and rescheduled again because things weren't the way we expected, and it's just so hard. So if you know anybody planning anything, ask them what they need, give them a hug, a virtual hug, not a real hug, because we're not allowed to do that anymore either. But everybody needs some kindness today, I promise you. Just randomly text somebody and say, like, I love you. They'll need a little love. So, yes, my kid. I could talk about him all day. Let's just talk about my kid. We'll do a whole live on how cute my kid is. I did just run across the video of him helping me decorate a cake, which we did during the shutdown. And oh boy, that kid can eat some cake. He definitely approves of the flavors of the month, but I will say his favorite is the October flavor of the month, which I'm not gonna tell. I have 4 kiddos, Twin 7-year-old, 6-year-old boys, and 3-year-old daughter. Oh my goodness. Obsessed with animals, loves doing our makeup and baking. Oh my gosh, Samantha, yes. My kiddo is totally obsessed with cooking with me right now, and I love it so much. Every morning. Can we make eggs? Oh, yes, you can have so many eggs. I don't care. You can have all the eggs in the world. My dream is that my kid will just love to cook, appreciate food, want to eat real food, not fast food every day, as I drink my slushie from McDonald's. Don't look at me. Cake makes everything better. Love it. If you're ever out here and you need the Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi password, or Wi-Fi name, is Cake Fixes everything. Cake Fixes everything. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna do our last couple rows of petals here. We've got our flower. We're looking a little bit flat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add these petals and then we're gonna fluff it a little bit, and I'll show you guys how to do that. Super easy. We are going to press these guys real gentle. Oh, before I do that. So I really notice the difference if I thin the edge or not. I feel like it just makes it that much more delicate. If I don't thin the edge, they still look nice, guys. But it's just those little things that make it like one step nicer. One little degree closer to being realistic. And it doesn't take much time. But like if you can do all these little steps, and you will find that your flower is going to look a little bit more real every time you do it. It's going to look a little bit better. You're going to figure out how to form them a little bit nicer. Making flowers is one of my favorite things to do. So this is the hard part here at Classic Cakes. We actually recommend for most people that they do fresh flowers on their cake, especially weddings, because they have fresh flowers in their venue and their bouquet, and we want the whole room, we want the cake to go in the room. So while I would much rather make the flowers, we usually recommend people do fresh flowers. Now I can totally make them. It's really up to the customer and what is best for their cake, or if they want a really custom flower or a not real flower, then we will make them. All right, let's see. What else? How's everybody doing? Oh my gosh. Dawn says her granddaughter is 12, is making apple pies. Oh my goodness, right down to the crust, homemade. I love it. There's not much in this world that I love more than like a really good pie crust. Like buttery and flaky and I know I do cake, but I also love pie. All right, so we're just gonna keep filling these guys in here. And like I said, I like to just fold it like a little S and fill it in, and that gives it just a little bit more body. Fits them in. And then we're gonna go in. Sometimes I use foam. I'm actually gonna use paper today. And we're gonna add some dimension between these petals, so that they stick up a little bit more. So we're gonna bring some height in there. Cool, I love it. Hey girls, so good to see you. Oh my gosh, I have been thinking about you so much after I ran into you at Meijer. That was so funny. You made my day. I was having one of those days and feeling overwhelmed and busy, and you know, life just gets that way. And this girl runs into me at Meijer and says she recognized me from the tutorials and thanked me, and I just think that's so cool. I cannot believe that I cannot believe the support, and I love it. I am so grateful for you guys and the support that you've offered and the encouragement to keep doing this, and I'm just amazed. So thank you so much. So cool. Okay, so we have lots of rows of petals here. We have a very wilty looking flower right now. So we're gonna inject some life into this guy by adding some dimension between the petals so it's not weighted down. You can use foam, which we use here because we have it in packing material, or you can use paper, which you can totally use scissors. I just don't have any over here. So I'm just gonna cut some strips of paper, maybe. And let's see, they don't have to be pretty. You just want some rectangles of paper. And then you can fold them and wedge them into the petals, and they will help perk up those petals. You can fold them more if you want them to have more strength behind them, or however you want that to happen. So I'm just gonna shove some in here, and you can see how it just kind of pops open those petals. Bring some life in between them. So I wanna start on the bottom with the ones that I wanna lift up there. Probably be easier if I pre-fold these guys. And then once this is dry, you can just pull these guys out. Beautiful. And then we're gonna make a beautiful center for the flower, and then, oh man, we're making good time, you guys. We're gonna play with some coloring of these flowers. So dry color is something that I have very little experience with, because we usually will airbrush things. Let's see, I've got an extra, there we go, extra little dude in there. So I'm just gonna push these in here, and they're gonna add some life. Maybe. You will live. Beautiful. You don't have to push them very far. You just stick them in, and it looks kind of crazy right now. Love it. There we go. And we're just going to start at the bottom and work our way up. You want these petals to not be flat and glued together. You want dimension in between them so they look fluffy and alive. Fluffy. We want fluffy flowers. Now that does depend on the type of flower you're making, but let's pretend that all flowers are that flower. Then we want them all to be fluffy. I love it. I love getting to like talk to you guys and hang out with you guys. I love seeing the same names and faces up here. It is so cool and so unreal that this is where my journey has brought me, and I love it. Right. And it's life. So there's no like magical right and wrong. You just do this until it's the way you want it to be, which I know is not the answer that most people like to hear. So if you want things to be exact, then things like mechanical things are great, right? Like if you want to make a BMW, then you got to look up the specs on a BMW and you got to make it exact, otherwise it's some other car and not a BMW. But if you want to make a flower, all flowers can be whatever you want them to be. I don't even know what kind of flower this is. We're going to make it because it's in my head. I don't know. And then when it's done, we're going to decide what it looks like, and that's what kind of flower it's going to be. So cool. Awesome, you guys. I love it. Triplets. Oh my goodness. Kristen, I love it. We're in your home state. Where have you moved to? I love it. Yes, send everybody to us. We love getting to take care of people. Let's see. So I'm going to decide what center I'm going to make. I'm going to make one of these molded guys as my center based on what size I think is going to fit. I want a big, chunky center, but it has to actually fit with the space that I have. So this would be the biggest one to fit. We're going to see if it fits. I'm going to make it. I actually don't have a whole lot of experience with these mold guys. I make up a lot of terms. Mold guys. But want to play with them. So today we're playing. And I'm just going to push it in, and then I'm going to press the excess up. And it's a lot easier to use scissors to just cut this off, but like I said, I left my scissors in the other room. Let's see. I saw a comment. Donna says, so flowers are made from gum paste and not fondant. So, great question. Technically, you can use fondant. It just depends on what you need the flower to look like. Fondant is never going to get really dry and really hard. So, coloring them is a lot easier if they're gum paste because it's drier and so it holds the color better, especially airbrush or any wet colors you're going to use. Whereas fondant is going to beat up and it's not going to hold the color as well. So I'm just going to pull this guy out gently. I mushed him. Well, we're going to re-mush him in here. And gum paste is going to get dry. It's going to hold its shape. It's going to be very rigid. So it holds the shape of the flower a little bit better. So I like to use gum paste. All right, I have some extra in here. Let's smush this out. Cut this extra out. So if you're doing this, you can totally pop this in the freezer for a minute and then it will get firm and hold its shape. But I don't have a freezer over here, so. Man, he's sticking. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to powdered sugar him. Just a little bit of powdered sugar. I've got a nice clean brush. We're just gonna push that powdered sugar into all those little doohickey crevices. Knock out the excess. We're gonna try this one more time. Let's see. Moved to Virginia for the military. You know, I think that's amazing. Thank you so much for being in the military in the first place. I think it's crazy that people end up moving all over the country and you don't even really know where you're gonna move or if you're gonna be in the country. There we go, it popped out very nicely. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing that you are able to do that, so thank you. I have never been to Virginia, I don't think. So for those of you just joining or who don't remember, I have this damp rag that I'm using to wet things, wet my gum paste, to make my little, with gum paste, all you have to do is make it wet and it will act like glue. But you want to make sure not to make it soaking wet, you just want to damply touch it and it'll make it sticky. Alright, cool. So I got that little center guy put in there, little button center. I'm going to throw some of these back in here because they popped out. See, now I want different ones in different spots. I want an extra one, so I'm going to cut you in half. Why don't you pop out too? You guys do as you're told. There we go. Alright, so this papery mess is going to be a gorgeous flower, which we will unveil tomorrow once she's dry, maybe Thursday. We just want to make sure that she's fully dry before we start pulling stuff out, otherwise the weight of the gum paste will start to fall. So I'm going to set her to the side. That crazy thing is our flower. And now we're going to talk about coloring flowers. So I have some that have already been made. Let's see, Donna, thank you. That could explain why I have not been able to make them the way I want them. So fondant is just not as good of a structure. It doesn't dry the same way. It doesn't hold its shape the same way. So it is a lot easier to use gum paste. And handling fondant is very similar to handling gum paste. So if you're comfortable with fondant, you should have no problem using gum paste. Just keep in mind it dries a lot faster, so you have to cover it. You can't let it like sit out for a minute while you're getting other stuff ready. All right, let's move all my molding stuff out of the way. And we're gonna bust out our coloring stuff and see what happens. All right, beautiful. So let's see. I love it. Hey, little chef Lenny Boo. So glad you're watching. I hope that you're gonna play and make some flowers of your own. You can use Play-Doh, you can get some gum paste or fondant. Super fun to play with. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, let's do some coloring. So, I've got a huge tray here. We're going to start. I'm not sure what we'll have time for. So, we're going to run a little bit over today so that we can play with these. I have some pre-made. We actually purchased these. So we do purchase some flowers. This just allows us to charge a little bit less because we can get these at a better rate than what it takes as far as our labor to make them. So we do purchase some flowers so that we can save our customers a little bit of money. This is a peony, a gorgeous peony. So basically the way it works is if we can find beautiful flowers, then we will purchase them. If not, we will make them. Let's see. Lenny Boo, I think that's so cool that you like to bake. What do you do? What do you like to make? All right, so I've got some cornstarch here. This is gonna be my neutral medium for my colors. And I'm just gonna take some. It's gonna be my white for like my palette. We're gonna make a little palette, just like we would with paints. It's just gonna be dry. They're just dry paints. And I have this big, beautiful bowl of different dusts. Let's see. This is Sugar Art. Love that brand. CK, beautiful brand. This is a luster. So lusters are metallic. You don't want to use lusters unless you want your flower to be shiny. Dusty Rose. I think I want to do, I don't think I have any browns in here. I'm not sure what colors I want to do, but I think I want to do, that's another luster. It's kind of a gray. I want to do some pinkish, reddish kind of color. I don't know, that just feels right in my heart. So let me find my pinks. Maybe pinkish purplish, I have more of that. So I don't have brown, but I have green, so I can use that to kind of muddy up my pinks, so that will work just fine. So this is already colored with some yellow, so I'm going to shade it a little bit, and then we're going to do a little bit of dusting on the edges. I just want to bring the flower to life. I don't want to make it a solid neon color. If I wanted to make it like bright pink, I would use airbrush. It's just a lot faster, and it's easier to get the product on there, whereas this takes a little bit longer. Let's see. Lenny Boo did cooking camp this summer. Oh my goodness, that sounds so much fun. You can also use pastels. So we actually have this pastel set here that we have. I can do some brown from this actually, and I'll show you guys how we do that. So you can take your little pastel and throw me some hearts if you guys can see what's happening over here. I don't know what's in your view. And you can just scrape it gently and you'll get the color powder. So very easy. And I've got a mess. I'm making a mess. And I've got a rag here to clean everything off. So just a dry rag. All right, cool. Let's find some colors. I'm kind of in love with this color. All right, we're gonna do purpley pink. This is Red Plum. Beautiful. Look at this color. I love it. It's bright, it's a little bit obnoxious. We're gonna just be gentle with it. And when I make a palette like this, I always keep my stuff to the side. I don't put it back until I'm done because you never know exactly what you're gonna need. This says pink glitter dust. That's not what I want. Rose pink. These guys are so hard to open. Oh my gosh, watch it explode in my face. All right, so I've got a nice clean bright pink. You guys saw it like a little explosion, right? Let's see. I don't want you. I definitely don't want you. Although this is a beautiful color. I love it. Regatta Bay. Lovely. These ones with the black lids are Sugar Art. This is called Sprout. This is a beautiful mossy green. I don't want to mix my colors, so I'm wiping my guy off. And then this is a little grainy. So sometimes if moisture gets in there or they get a little old, you can just press them. Beautiful. All right, let's see. And this one is Sunflower. Some of these are really dirty. The dust gets on the dust. That makes it dusty. All right, beautiful. So we've got our colors. I've got a little bit of an orange, it's called Sunflower color here, so I can go in and add some texture, some shading to the center here. I just want to bring it a little bit to life. And then I've got some green, a bright pink, a purpley pink, which I'm in love with, brown, and white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just this medium bristle here, it's number 8, and I'm going to take my white, and I'm going to make my color that I want to start with. So I'm going to start with the center. So I'm going to take some of this orange and I'm going to mix it with this guy. And this is going to dilute your color so it goes on a little bit easier, so I can be a little bit more reckless with my coloring. So if I'm using dust, you have to think about the way that you're gonna flick your color. If I'm gonna pull my color this way, then it's gonna go off of the flower onto my tray. If I flick it this way, it's gonna go into my flower. So I want some more color here. And I'm going in these like shadowy spots where I would expect there to be shadow, and just pushing these bristles into the edges. And then I have this very cute little, so I can clean out the messy bits. Okay, so all I did here is add a little bit of color so that I have some range of color. So I still have the yellow, it still looks yellow, but I have some shading on there. And that's just gonna add a little bit more life. All those little details really come together and give you that life to your flower. So I'm gonna start with my soft colors and then I'm gonna work darker. So I'm gonna start with my soft pink. So I'm gonna, oh, I don't like that sound. I'm gonna clear room with my palette. I'm gonna take some white and some of my pink. We're gonna mix this in. This is gonna give me a nice soft pink. Almost like a soft bubblegummy pink, I like it. And I'm gonna start by I'm gonna leave the very centers white, so I'm gonna start kind of in the middle, like in a medium area. And I'm just gonna really roughly dust. And this is going to push color into the grooves that are in the petals. And you can see that we already have a little bit of color. And that light dusting is just going to add shadow and shading to really pull it all together. You do not have to always mix it with the cornstarch. You can do it just straight in. I like to do this because I feel like it gives me more room for error. And especially if I'm doing like softer colors. And you can be pretty rough. You don't have to worry about being super gentle as long as you don't. Maybe you should start gentle. You don't want to break your petals and have to start over with your entire flower. But if you break one petal or one little corner of a petal, no one's going to really notice. So there is some forgiveness in that factor. It just depends how precise you want your flowers to be. So we're just going to do these edges here. And this is just going to give me my base. I want the base of my flower to be white and pink. So it has this like pink hue to it. And then my edges we're going to add a lot of life to with this like really pretty color. And then we're going to do some green. I've seen a lot of flowers lately that are just gorgeous with some pink and some green and white in their petals, and I want to see if I can even do that. So we're going to make it really pretty, and then I might ruin it, but we're going to find out. I just like playing sometimes. I feel like you don't know until you try. And that's the one benefit that we have here with the volume of the cakes that we do. I do get, you know, we have extra flowers that I can play with, and we have another order coming around the corner for something else, so we can try something different. And sometimes it doesn't work and we have to start over so that the customer gets their perfect cake, but sometimes we learn new things, and I would say most of the time we learn new things and amazing things happen, and you learn this much and then you get to learn the next thing and you get to learn the next thing, and it's just so cool to see these decorators, these women who work so hard here to learn and to make amazing cakes and product and take care of each other. To see them constantly learning is so cool. All right. All right, so I have, if I was making lilies, like this would be a really pretty way to make my petals if I was making lilies, right? Where you have that just hue of pink and the white. I think it's beautiful. This could totally be acceptable. So now we want to also do the outside of our petals, and we want to make them kind of the same. They don't have to be identical, but I like to think of my petals as being nearly transparent. So I try to make them pretty similar. Now it also depends how it's going on the cake. Like if this is going on the cake like this, no one's gonna see the backs of the petals, but you don't want them to be bland. So maybe you don't have to make them quite as precise, but you don't want them to be naked either. Let me make sure you guys can see this good. Oh man, I still remember the first time I used these colors. I got so nervous and I ended up doing like a really dark color because I'm like, it'll be pretty. And it would have been if I knew what I was doing. But I ended up with this like very streaky, weird, I just couldn't get the color to go on right. So it just takes practice. It's definitely like you do it in stages. You can only make it so dark. And then you can go over it again and make it a little bit darker. All right, I'm ready for the next color. Are you guys excited? I'm so excited to see what happens to this. I just want to. Let me see. So we just added a little bit of color, a little bit of life to the backs of these guys. let's see. Yes, it's just like a cute little squeeze bottle I found at a craft store. Anything like that, because you don't want to blow directly onto the flower. Now, to be fair, it is edible. It is all made out of sugar, but no one's going to actually eat it. But it is still a food product, so we don't want to spit on it, and it is a pandemic. So, little things like that. Alright, so I want all my excesses out of there. She's so pretty. Let's see if I ruin her. Okay, so I'm going to take my same color, and I'm just going to add some of my dark. I like to use, when I do buttercream colors as well, I like to use the base color I'm already starting with and change that, because I feel like it helps keep it more relatable. I feel like it ensures that the colors go well together. Okay, I really like this color. Now you can see the difference between this and this. I'm assuming you guys can see that. Hopefully you can see that. Oh my goodness. And we can work up to this if we want to go this dark. It just depends what we're doing. But we want to start soft. And I'm going to start with my outside petals. So I'm going to smush all these back up. We're going to start with my outside petal here. And I'm going to do the edge. So I'm really wanting to get in all those little ruffles. I want the edges of these guys to be dark and moody and gnarly. I don't know if peonies look like this, but this is what I have in my head. Sometimes you just get an idea in your head and it kind of sticks. So you can see what we're starting with. Just messy outside petals. And we're going to do the outside edge too. Probably be easier if I do all the outside first and then all the inside. Let's do one at a time. And you can see how this is a very time-consuming process. Let's see. I'm trying to look at it. I need to show you guys. So. Yes, we're excited. I love it. This is kind of therapeutic. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really enjoying this. I love holding a paintbrush. I try to I spent so little time painting in the last couple of years, but I used to paint miniatures. Like nerdy board game miniatures, which I totally need to get into that again. It's so calming to do that while I'm sitting on the couch. It's such a small little project, and my husband has more than enough board games for. I will never run out of miniatures to paint. I'll just say that. Any other gamers? Any board game? More modern board games? What kind of board games do you guys like? What do you play? Oh my gosh, yes. Tell me. What is your favorite board game right now? Will all the petals accidentally fall off, bending them back and forth? No, I love it. Excellent question. So these are actually all individually attached by a wire. So I'm bending the wire, not the petal. If I had a flower like this, I would not be bending them because they're just set the way they are. But then, like this, they're actually on a wire, like the center of this guy. So I'm just bending the wire back and forth. So here's where we are right now. We're just adding that deeper shading. My husband has a weekly board game night with his brothers. actually 2 nights a week now. And I try to play. I feel like I have no brain power left by the end of the week these days. Sigmund's board game, love it. Yes, dahlias, so we can totally make those as well. They're a little bit more delicate, but they are gorgeous. I would say a rose or a peony is a really good beginner flower because they have pretty hardy petals. Whereas something like a dahlia, a daisy, something like that is going to have those like narrow, delicate petals. And so they're just a little bit more, a little less forgiving. And I'm not trying to fill every crack and like cranny. I am just sticking some of this in the different areas. And so it's a little uneven, but I want that. I don't want it to be like a solid line. Let's see. Monopoly. Oh goodness, there's so many fun games. I mean, Monopoly is great, but we gotta find you some more games. I feel like every time I played Monopoly, I got so frustrated that I never wanted to play a game or look at my family again. So if your family can survive that, I think that is beautiful. But when I was a kid, I did not enjoy it. But I always lost. So, you know, that might be why. All right, we're making our way around here. Let's see. Not much board game, card game, so much fun. Cat Chaos. That's awesome. I have not played Cat Chaos, but we have an awesome board game called Exploding Kittens. Super fun, love it. You should totally look that one up. Also, if you like euchre, there's a really cool board or card game that's like a twist on euchre. So same kind of like technique, but they have like different powers in the cards. So you can do different things, and it kind of messes with the way that you play euchre. And it's 2-player, which is awesome for me and my husband. It's called Fox in the Forest, and I love it. It's one of my favorite games. So love that, definitely. There's a lot of great card games. Now they have debit cards for Monopoly. I didn't know they had debit cards, so that's crazy. Do you clean the brush between different colors? Excellent question. So you can take the brush and just on a dry towel kind of wipe it off, or I do have some other brushes lined up in case I need them. If I was going from dark to light color, I definitely would want a clean brush. If I'm like stair-stepping up my colors, then it doesn't matter a whole lot. You can just use the same brush. And I think I had another question from Terry. What's your favorite flower to make with gum paste? That is an awesome question. That's a really hard question because I love learning new flowers, but I really love making gardenias. Their petals are so pretty, and the way they curl is just so beautiful. Not my favorite flower. Peony is actually my favorite flower. But we do a lot of them, so they're not as exciting. But I wanted to show that to you guys today because I wanted to play with this different color idea. All right, so we're on our last petal. So I'm not going to do the outside of the petals. Normally I would. If I was putting this on an order, I totally would. But to save us time today, I'm just going to do the inside. And right now we have this very unfinished, so we're going to have to work on this some more right now. But I have this very unfinished, you can see the different shades, the different color, right? We like this. We like it to be different and have some life in it. But we have like a light peachy color and we have this darker color, so we want to blend them a little bit. Let's see. similar. Very cool. Awesome. So we are going to play with this a little bit more. Let's do a hint of green. I want to play with the green. I'm going to use a different brush. And then we will go back and like blend and touch things up and make it really pretty. So I'm going to put some white over here. I'm going to get some green in this. I want it to be pretty soft. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my pink. And we're going to make a really dirty color. But that way it's not a straight up green. Just this really muddy, muddy, muddy pink. Alright, so we got this really muddy, but it's still got a pink hue to it. And I'm going to do the edges, because what I want it to I want to make it look aged and alive, but you know, it's been alive a little while. You know how flowers kind of have that browning around the edges? I feel like that's just going to make it look more natural. So I'm just going to really just drag this on the edges and let the messiness happen. I mean, we'll see what happens. Because I really don't know. We're making this up as we go along because I just want to see what happens and play. All these big flowers, it's so hard to show you guys. I want to just pull it over and look at it myself. Alright, this is looking cool. It's giving a more natural hue to this brighter flower, so we may add a little bit more of this. Let me see. I'm going to play with this a little bit and just put some real light. It does muddy it. It makes it a little bit more natural instead of bright. And I think I love that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little bit messier with it so I get more of that color. And let's see what happens. Definitely a different way. I love this. So I'm keeping the middle of the petal white, or mostly white, and I'm really just messing with the outside. What is the most requested Gumpaste flower? I love it. Probably a rose. I would say peonies or lilies or orchids are probably next. I would say a rose is probably the most requested flower. And I think someone asked how long do the flowers last? So honestly, nearly forever. Once you make these and dry them, if you store them properly, you could keep them for years, actual years. We usually go through them pretty quickly, or we make them or order them for the order. But it is totally realistic to have them on hand for years. They'll start to get dusty or get brittle before you'll have to get rid of them. Really, they don't expire like a food product. It is dried and formed, and it's not going anywhere. Alright, I got 3 more over here, and then we're going to add the next round of color. And I just broke off a little piece of petal, but that's okay. I really like this muddy color on here though. So next what I want to do, I want to blend these a little bit more, a little bit better. And I want to look at my flower as a whole and decide what I want to do with it. So I think what I want is for the inside petals, the closest to the center, to be a little bit darker and dirtier, and then them to get a little bit cleaner as, in my brain, more light touches them as they open more. So just like with any other form of art, you want to think about your focal point, you want to think about your lighting. Where's the light coming from? Christina says, who do you order them from and are they local? So we order from several different companies. I will comment back with the links. I totally forget what company I order what flowers from because I just have a list. But there are a lot of really great companies that sell Gumpaste flowers you can find online. And I'm actually not sure where some of them are located, but I don't think any of them are very local. At least not in Indiana. But I could be wrong. I need to double check that. We get a lot of our stuff locally. All right, cool. So, just going to form this back up. Just gently pushing it around, moving it around. All right, so now we have, each time we go around, you can see we have more range of color, more variety. It just makes it look a little bit more real every time you add a little bit of something to it. So we could be totally done here. This is beautiful. What I would like to do is do just one more round with a little bit of the bright color, because that was what I was excited about. And I really just want to highlight some of the center. So I'm going to do this part of the petal where it really just attaches in the center here with that really dark color, and we'll see what happens, and hopefully I don't ruin it. And I'm just going to go straight up with the dark color. And I'm just kind of pushing the color into the bristles of the brush. You can see how much you knock off. And I'm going to start at the bottom again. And I'm just going to press this into the middle here. So we get this nice dark spot. And then I'm going to go back and blend it with a clean brush. And we'll see if this works the way that I think it will work. I'm hoping it will give it like a vibrant, like connective sense of life. I want it to come to life. I love this. I hope you guys are loving this. I hope you think this is fun. This is totally doable. I'm just fiddling. So throw me some hearts if you think that you can totally do this. I love it. Just playing with colors. This is kind of like doing your eyeshadow. It's really no different. We're just doing eyeshadow on a flower. Did I do makeup today? I did. You know, you never really know what you're gonna get on here, guys. Alright, so I'm gonna make sure that I get nice and dark on the inside. These smaller petals, I want them to be a little bit darker. So I'm just gonna pull this a little bit deeper. I don't know why, there's no reason, there's no answer or magical reason here. It's just what I feel like doing. This is pretty. No, okay, so here's our messy, crazy, deep colors. I feel like on the screen it's not coming off. It's really dark. So I'm gonna take a clean brush. I've got one more of those. And I'm gonna start on the bottom again. And I'm not poofing it with my air guy. I'm going to go on the edge and I'm going to just pull it the whole length of the petal, just like you would like blending your eyeshadow. maybe I am gonna do this. I've got a lot of, just a tiny bit. Okay. See how I changed my mind like that? I don't know if I should have done that. We'll see. It's definitely harder to pull that color, but it is working. So I'm having to go over it more, but it is blending. Just requiring more. This could be really cool. I hope you guys will try this kind of stuff. This is just, it's really simple. It's just playing. Just fiddling with it over and over again. Let's see. This is totally hard. Terry, this is totally easy. Just lots of steps, just lots of fiddling. We will have a Gumpaste flower class this year, Terry. You should totally do it. I'll prove to you that you can kill this. You can rock it. All right, so now I have my darker ones. So I don't want to touch all of it because I want to keep, basically anywhere your paintbrush touches when you blend, you pull that color away. So you want to blend the edges. You don't want to blend the entire thing or you'll just pull all that color off. You see I'm working here, but I'm not touching this. All right, I got one guy left, this guy here. I'm so excited to see what it looks like. Oh, you're gonna be so pretty. I hope you guys love it. I love this. This is our beautiful flower. Now, like I said, if I was putting this on a cake, I would do the other side of the petals as well, but for the sake of time, same technique, nothing changes to do the outside petals. You will take your brush, you will dust on your color. Let's say on this one I'm doing my dark color. And then you can blend it. And you can just go over it and it softens the whole thing and blend it this way. You can use your dirty brush to blend it, to add more and blend it. Totally whatever you like. But that just finishes the flower. So you do want to make sure that when you do those petals, the flower at home, or when you're finishing it for a real project, that you do the outside of the petals. But I hope you guys love what we made. It turned out beautiful. And then I will take pictures of the first one that we made when she is done drying, and we'll see what this guy looks like. It's a totally different flower. Don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous. So I don't, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for joining me as we went over in our time. Terry, we totally need leaves. I'm actually, this fall, we're gonna do a Gumpaste leaves and coloring of leaves so we can do some fall flowers and things like that. But thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. If you are interested in the in-person classes, we're gonna do those in January and February. Obviously pending whatever restrictions that there are for COVID and making sure that we can keep everybody safe. But if you are not already on our mailing list, go over to classiccakescarmel.com. Join our mailing list. We send out an email once a month, assuming I have time to do that. So we definitely won't pester your inbox, but we will send you updates on what's going on, as well as get you the availability to sign up for our classes first when those happen. So thank you so much. Harder to paint, the one you made. It will be more forgiving. The one that I'm sorry, the flower that I made will be more forgiving to paint because it has a lot more texture in it. So that's automatically gonna kind of hold on to some of that color. So you can take one color and brush it over that petal, and it will trap some of that color and give you like a more lively looking flower already. So I will paint that one as well and show you guys what that looks like as well. So very cool. Thank you so much. I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this crazy adventure every week as we do our tutorials. I really love getting to hang out with you guys and play, and hopefully inspire you to play as well. Thanks so much. This is Megan Ritz at Classic Cakes. Don't forget to jump on our website, classiccakescarmel.com.